Hello, and welcome back to yet another exciting episode of The Movie Hoppers. And follow us on Twitter at Movie Hoppers. Pretty simple. But most of you don't care about that. Most of you care about the movie we're talking about and the people I'm talking about it with. We have Molethu Studios back. We have Emme back.
Hello.
Yep. The classic animation group. And we are reviewing Raya and the Last Dragon, a very critically acclaimed movie.
96%
So
on
far.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's pretty high. And Isaac, you're the animation connoisseur, so I'm gonna let you take the floor. What do you think about the movie? Just opening thoughts.
What did I think about the movie? Well, when I was like first trying to watch the movie before I watched it, I had thoughts that I wouldn't like it, and those thoughts came true apparently.
Whoa. Controversial.
Yep.
Hot
I mean,
take.
there's much to appreciate about the movie, but there's not really there's more things I don't like about the movie, which I think most of the stuff I will talk about will be like mentioned in the spoilers portion of the video. So yeah, I didn't like this movie as much as I thought I would like it. Although I did like Awkwafina as Sisu. That was the best part of the movie. That was honestly the best part of the movie. I was laughing a lot.
I hated Sisu. For me, Sisu was the worst part of the
Really,
movie
Joe?
by a very large margin.
Really?
Sisu's character is never. Sisu doesn't have a character. Sisu is whatever the plot. When the plot wants her to be funny for some reason, she's funny. But then she just magically turns into like the voice of reason, and then she turns into like the derpy crazy lady again. It's like she's like a ball. She never has a character. She's just a blank slate for the plot. She's like the Swiss Army knife. But
I personally think Sisu is very fleshed out, and I think that you have to remember Sisu is like the dragon. She's basically immortal. She's, walked the world a lot longer.
Wait, did you say she was immortal?
Okay, Isaac, stop. No.
Shush. No spoilers yet.
Gosh darn it.
Okay, keep going.
Like, I felt like she was everything the movie needed her to be. I liked how it was the right amount of fish out of water story. Like how she was the right amount of naive and she was the right amount of right about the circumstances. And she really helped the other characters grow, in my opinion. And of course, I really do like Awkwafina. I think she's really funny. So I just really liked her role in the movie overall. I thought that, and I'm sick of people crapping on her design because
I
liked her design.
I didn't like her design. I didn't like her design. And
personally, I could so see like little kids buying Sisu plushies, and I just feel like she will be a memorable character. Dare I say it? She wasn't as funny as him, but I personally like her better than Mushu from Mulan.
Really? Well, I think Mulan was another one of the victims of really after Aladdin when the genie came out. They just every animated movie needed to have a wacky funny side character. Yeah, their own genie.
They need to have their own genie.
And
yeah.
I feel like we're still getting like the shockwaves from that in this.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I do agree with like in terms of Sisu. I do agree with like both of you guys on it. I agree with Joe that they only wanted her to be like the voice of reason when they wanted her to be, and they wanted her to be like a goofy dragon at other points of the movie, which like I completely agree. I felt like it's just like the plot wants her to be that certain way. And like it's like that, which I don't like about the movie, and I just noticed it like this morning when I tried to rewatch the movie, some bits of it. I only watched like the Sisu parts because those are my favorite parts of the movie. But she's genuinely, like to me at least, the most funniest character in the film. She was like the best character, but I don't like her design, and that was like a complaint I had when I first watched the trailers, that her design looked a bit simplistic in a way. Like I don't know if you guys had like the same opinions, but to me, I felt like her design was a bit simplistic.
Well, for me, the whole the designs of the characters in general is kind of like a better version of Frozen 2 for me, in which the character designs are like cartoony and simple, and the environment is like hyper realistic. And I feel like it looked better in here than in Frozen 2, because in Frozen 2 it looked bad. But on this one they added like a lot of film grain. They tried to make it look like it was shot on film, like not like it wasn't like as clean as other animated movies. So I think that kind of smoothed out a lot of the problems I had with Frozen, like the juxtaposition between the characters and the environment. I feel like that was not as pronounced. So I thought the whole design thing, I was fine with it. I liked it enough. It's served its purpose. It's not incredibly creative. It's a Disney movie. They're not gonna go out on a limb.
Yeah.
But it for me it was okay. It was okay enough.
I want to talk about the world building, which something that me and Isaac clashed a little bit on, but I really enjoyed the world building. If you guys, Isaac's been watching my reviews over on my channel, but I'm going to Disney World in 10 days and I'm basically watching 10 Disney movies I've never seen before. And with all of those movies, the world building in all of them, and they all are very different worlds. Like I've watched everything from Treasure Planet to Oliver and Company, and those are obviously very different settings and time periods. But in all of those movies, the world building just falls flat. And I feel like in this movie, I really liked, even though the pacing had some problems, I really liked how we got to see all of the different worlds and we got to see what each made them special. I got Star Wars vibes from it being like, you're in a desert and then you're in like a crowded city and then you're in like a snowy landscape. And I just really liked how every single environment was different, and that contributed to all of the characters.
I mean, for me, I agree with the pacing thing. This movie goes along like a coked up chicken. It's just one thing after another after another after another. And I feel like the biggest problem I have with the world building is I never spent enough time in one place. This felt like this almost. I mean, take this for what you would, compliment, backhand, compliment, whatever. But I felt like this was a 20-minute cartoon episode. I mean, it just goes so quick. And I feel like maybe if they had less factions, like the Fang and the whatever, if they had less of those development.
The whole point of world building, to me at least, like have fun with it, because regrettably, I don't like Ralph Breaks the Internet, but they had a lot of fun with the world building, in my opinion. But in this film, there's not much. They don't explain much about the world building and in different tribes. They never go and they never fully I don't know how to explain flesh out how the world work, how their tribes work in certain ways. Only I don't know I don't know how to describe it. But
a lot
it's
of it
not
does
really
feel convenient. A lot of it does feel like there's certain aspects of the world that shine when the plot needs them to. So I do think that we should have spent maybe a little bit more time, but I also respect that it's a feature-length film. It can only do so much. Obviously, you don't want to have a 3-hour Endgame film for a Disney movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally really enjoyed spending time at the different worlds, and I really liked seeing the settings. Obviously, we want more fleshing out, but I feel like we didn't necessarily need more. We just wanted more. But I get what you guys are saying, that with the pacing, it did seem like, all right, we got this thing, we achieved our objective here, let's just move along.
Yeah, I mean, they all look visually different, and they all look visually appealing, but when it comes to the people in the world, they're all the same people. I guess that might play into the message of the movie a bit, but I feel like there is no difference between the people, besides the visual stuff. I mean, everyone in Fang is just like everyone in whatever Talon, or I forget the names, but I visually
it was Fang, Talon, Heart, Spine, Tail or something. I don't know.
Tail. But yeah, they're all visually different, but I feel like that if you go past that, again, it's just all the same characters, all the emperor, whatever, kings, emperors, whatever, they're basically the same thing. They just have different slightly different ways of doing things as convenient for the plot. But I mean, I guess that again, I just wish there was less of the, maybe if there's just 3 tribes, then we could have had a third of the movie dedicated to each one, and I would have been able to warm up to okay, so this is why everybody's fighting, this is why everybody's split up. But at the end of the day, it just feels like they split up for arbitrary reasons.
That the splitting up wasn't really clear to you guys?
Well, I get they split
No,
up,
the
but like,
splitting up was.
but like, why are
Um,
these people? Why did all of these people decide to come together? You know, why did these people decide to join Talon instead of Fang, instead of, you know, Tail? I feel like the people in Talon, Fang, and Tail, they act basically, you know, exactly the same, except maybe the main one, which is Heart. The main
That's a
one, you know,
different
the
thing of
first
the
one.
movie is I feel like I was trying to follow the open exposition because a lot of that had plot holes that coincided with the ending, which also had plot holes.
Mm.
But it sounded like, you know, in the beginning, like people were just living with dragons, and then like after the whole thing happened with the Droon, they just split up into enemy lines. But I feel like maybe they were already like factions or different tribes, but they were just more united. It's never really explicitly stated, but I guess I can get what you guys are saying from that angle. Like, how did they just go from a unified country to, you know, who decides what team you're on? So I get
Yeah.
what you guys are saying.
Yeah, like
yeah.
I understand what happened. It's just that there's no reason, like the move, like all the people are exactly the same. There's no reason for them to, I feel like, be in specific tribes. They probably reused character models for like each freaking tribe, except the one with all the big buff
Yeah.
people. That's visually unique, but past the visuals, it's just the same thing. But I
I
guess
think that does what you were saying, Joe, but I think that does play into the message of the movie, though, a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, it's just kind of a
Yeah.
plot hole for me. But again, the beginning, not the short film. I really like the short film.
Oh, it was
That was
so
really
cute. I
good.
loved it.
I didn't get to watch it. Yeah, was it
Uh,
on Disney Plus?
Probably. I recommend it.
Yeah, Isaac,
All right.
if you get like if you pay for it on Disney Plus, I think that it should be there.
Yeah, or you could find it
Uh,
on other means, but we don't talk about that here. We're gonna but the beginning part where they're talking about the the whole setup of the plot with the dragons, and you know how they all, you know, did their own thing. For me, that was kind of a bad scene. Just because it felt like every other fantasy movie I've ever seen. It was like, oh man, the dragons were here, but then the skibbity bop came in and then turned everybody into the stupidity boop. But then the one guy did the doopity bop, and then everybody was saved. And then, oh, but now everybody's split up, and now the scoopity boop is holding pulling everybody apart. Now the dingle bop, it just felt like I
I
was
just
like, oh,
don't
come
like
on.
opening like narration.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
think that they could have just
Yeah.
had Raya rolling through the desert,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually the plot gets, because I get it, with fantasy sci-fi films you have to establish the world that you're in. It helps suspend the disbelief, and it also fleshes out the world. But I do think they could have handled that better.
Yeah, I feel like if they did
Yeah.
it like throughout the movie, I feel like that would have helped string the plot together a bit more too, and made it a bit more consistent, because for me consistency was a problem, as I kind of hinted at before. But the thing about
Yeah.
I really liked past that first thing I talked about, I really liked the first, I would say, 20 minutes of the movie. I was like, wow, okay, just before the dragon showed up, I was really enjoying myself. I was like, okay, there's action. I like these characters. I like these you know, not lesbians. I liked a lot of.
We will get to the not lesbians that are totally lesbians.
Yeah, I mean, but I liked a lot of what they were doing there. But then the dragon showed up, and I was like, okay, well, you know. Oh well, at least it was a good 20 minutes. It was a good run.
20 minutes. Yeah, the film does have issues with the pacing. Although, like, what did you guys think about like the main protagonist, Raya? Or like,
we got a new
'cause,
Disney
like,
princess, boys. I mean, yeah. You guys know I'm very like, I'm not one of those people who's like Disney can do no wrong. I am very critical of them, but that's because I love them so much. And I felt like Raya was like, in terms of her design, she was like Mulan and Moana combined. And then in terms of her, motivations, I did like how badass she was. I liked that we had a princess that could fight really well, because I feel like aside from Mulan and maybe Merida, because she can like do her bow and arrow thing, Raya has more fighting skills than any Disney princess. It's just crazy to think how far we've come from all the way back in the 40s and 50s with like Cinderella and Snow White. And they obviously had very admirable traits. They were like kind and, caring, but Raya was snarky. She had like the right amount of attitude and she was just completely badass. So I do think that she was kind of flat in some areas, but overall I just really liked how she was very strong and not perfect. She was a very imperfect protagonist, which the film doesn't like to draw attention to, but we'll get to that.
I mean, to me, it felt like Raya didn't have like much development on her characters. Like, it's like she had like basically one motivation, and that was just trying to get the gems. That's like her entire like development, trying to get all the gems together, and learning about which I can't spoil it, but like you know what I mean. It's just like it felt like it was just that there was like nothing else to her character. Like for Mulan, for example, like in the beginning of the film, she is shown to be sort of like a tomboy, but she's only like in the war because she wants to defend her father. Like there's like that sort of development arc in that. With Jasmine, it was like I don't want to be forced to marry. I want to marry for love, and like it goes on from there with the development. Again, like with several other Disney princesses, there was like sort of a development with their characters. With Raya, I just felt like she just wants to get the gems back, and she reforms. That's like basically her character to me. Like I didn't feel like she was like really better written compared to the other Disney princesses.
I think that her arc was, there was still some room for improvement with her, but I think that her overall, like, it's like, okay, here's the conflict. Raya has trust issues because of thing that happened. Throughout the whole movie, we show her struggle with trust issues. On a traditional sense, I thought her arc was pretty resolved.
Well, I think two things I can say about Raya. One is that she's kind of a victim of the plot. Felt like this whole movie kind of felt like a video game to me. Just like, oh, we need to get this, and this because of that. It's really like a bunch of fetch quests to me. But Raya, she could fight, but she was kind of stupid. Overall, she was very easily.
Yeah.
And sometimes she was like stupid out of character. Like the movie I was like, wow, the movie really wants me to think that she's not the she's not the smartest person in this group.
Yeah, the movie tries to make you like again, I can't get into spoilers, but the movie tries to make you think about certain things about like the film. Like the film tries to make you think about what's happening in the plot, so it'll make you believe it or something like that. I can't get into details. We'll have to save that for spoilers. But yeah, it makes you want to believe that these things happen, that this person is that this person is that, or something like that. And that's what sort of irks me in a way, because like that's what the film is trying to set you up for. It's trying to make you believe that Raya is not stupid. It's like she's the protagonist, she's the hero. You have to love her. But at the same time, I couldn't help but feel as though like it's entirely her. Like she's stupid. That's it. That's just her arc. And it's not like, again, compared to the other Disney princesses, they weren't forced in a way. I felt like Raya's development in a way was a bit forced. I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but I felt like it was often forced.
Well,
I think that goes into the pacing as well.
Yeah.
The pacing was a little bit too rushed, and I think that her overall, like I said, I think her arc was completed, but rushed definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she, like a lot of things just happened, and it was like, all right, okay, whatever. But I feel like another problem is the other characters that she's around, like the other characters she's with, are basically just don't have any flaws at all.
Yeah.
They're just like perfect at what they do, and they always they never screw up. And even like the main villain, she is a lot smarter than Raya, and she just never screws up ever, and except maybe like one. Well, I guess she technically does, but it's like at the same time it's.
But I think,
kind of the
like,
fault
to me, I think she's like a better character compared to Raya.
Yeah, I liked her more than
yeah.
I liked her more than Raya. I feel like the roles should have been reversed, kind of. And
I wanted more from Namaari, though.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted more of, why are you like this?
Mm-hmm.
Who hurt you? Like, what about, and we'll get into that more with spoilers, but like, what kind of pressure is being put on her to do the things that she wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's all like, when she's going after Raya, when Raya's trying to get the gems, she's all like, why are you collecting the gems? Like, isn't it obvious? Like, why? Like, she's trying. Anyway, we'll get into that with spoilers, but Raya's goals are an extension of her father's, and we all are banged over the head with what his goals are. So why is she like angered? Like, man, my girlfriend's just going around here stealing gems. Who does she think she is?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I kind of understand. Again, I'm gonna beat around the bush here. I kind of understood why she was doing what she was doing. I overall felt like that the main villain's arc was a lot stronger than the Raya's arc, because the main villain.
Personally, I would root for the villain compared to Raya, because like Raya the entire time I wasn't like rooting for her. I was mainly just rooting for the villain because like she was more developed and like there was a bit of a personality to her character.
You know, another thing I really feel like Raya's faults and imperfections, other than her whole trust issue arc, which isn't even the most important thing about her. It's presented as it is, but leaning into the subtext of the movie, there's much more. Her imperfections and faults, she's never really confronted with that. Like, we all know from the beginning to the end of the movie, Raya has done a lot of things that have caused more harm than good, and I just feel like the weight of her actions never comes back to her, and I think that's a lot of the reason why she feels underdeveloped. Like I said, I do stand by my statement that her arc was beginning to end, completed, closed, and they solved her main problem. But there's other little things about her that were never addressed, that were big issues in the movie. So, like, Raya serves as a catalyst for a lot of the major plot points, and it just feels like she never gets what's coming to her in the sense of, like, you need to take responsibility for your actions, which, again, is another thing you don't want to send to kids, because we have to remember this is a movie for children and adults. You don't want to send the message to kids that, like, oh, you can do bad things, whether it's on accident or on purpose, and, like, you know, as long as you just be a good person, they'll all go away. That's a horrible message.
Yeah, I guess I just realized that too, as you said that I feel like the writers, the people who like wrote this movie, were under the impression that like Raya is like this smart and perfect character, but then like accidentally like made her kind of not that, but they never realized it, so they still played her off as this like smart and perfect character.
They want you to believe so badly that she is
the film
not imperfect.
Like, treats
it's
it
like,
that
oh,
way.
Raya's great. She just has a little bit of trust issues. It's like, no, there's so much more than that. Like, she's, like I said, she's a catalyst for major events in the movie, and the movie glosses over that, and they're like, you know, Namari, that Namari, but Raya's great. And I'm like, she's not, though. I do like her character a lot, but she is at fault for a lot of the major events in the movie, and the movie just kind of, as Isaac would say, because movie. Like, it's just
because
like,
movie
whatever.
moment.
Yeah.
It was genuinely a because movie moment, and that's what really like made me angry the entire time.
I feel like we're starting to kind of brush elbows with spoilers here. So do you want to say anything else before we get into the spoiler talk?
Let the dragon out of the cave.
Okay, spoiler talk.
Joe. Let's
go.
Diss on the ending.
Okay then, Emmy, you go first.
All right.
Oh, I get to go first. All right, Isaac, don't you worry. I'll make this quick. Another big because movie moment. Okay, exposition. Oh, wait, is it all good for, like you've said to the viewers, like spoilers?
Yep, you're good. Okay. Go for it.
Spoilers, people! So, the biggest because movie moment. Why the hell did the dragons come back suddenly?
Exactly.
What?
Okay, wait.
It's like the beginning. Raya's like, oh man, the dragons are still sewn, but there's only Sisu. And then after Raya and her little found family / girlfriend, you know, after they solve everything and have another fake out death, which again, Disney, stop falling into the tropes that make you weak. We've told you they're weak, and we've told you why.
Just
if you
kill
keep
them.
Falling into those tropes, you're gonna look cliche and stupid, and all of us are just gonna facepalm consecutively, and it's gonna be your fault. Anyway, all the dragons just come back, and I get it. They wanted to be like, oh, Sisu talked about her siblings, so we have to have her siblings come back. No, you don't. Personally, as much as I liked Sisu, I wish they all would have stayed dead. Raya needs to understand the weight of her actions. Namari and Raya need to understand that not working together and just using their worst characteristics of each other are bad, and they need to learn from the weight of their actions. Personally, if Sisu and all the other dragons stay dead, can you imagine an ending scene where after they all get reunited with their families, Raya goes to like stone Sisu and she like does the little circle prayer thing, and then she gives a flower to her and she's like, Sisu, you've helped me realize that, help, like, trusting people, which I'll get to that, the message is flawed, trusting people and having faith in others in dire circumstances does the right thing. Like, I'm sorry that you couldn't see it, but it would be beautiful. It'd be such a bittersweet scene, and I want Disney to take that risk. I want it to gut punch us because Pixar's not afraid to do that.
The thing is with like Disney, they stopped taking risks after. Well, like the thing is with Disney, when I heard like multiple, I heard this commentary about Lion King that like they were treated as the B team, as everyone doesn't know. They thought everyone thought the Lion King would fail. And because of that, not many money was thrown at the Lion King, so they just took multiple risks, which led to Mufasa dying. And that kind of tells you something, that money often kills art. You need money to fund art, but it's often that way that they don't need to take risks. With Pocahontas, they completely changed up the film.
I was just
to
going to
make
bring
it
up
more
Pocahontas. Pocahontas, people have mixed feelings about it. Personally, I love that movie for like, obviously it's not historically accurate at all, but I love that movie because not only because of the music, but because of the ending. You take our two main love interests and have them separated, and I'm not counting that stupid direct-to-video sequel, but you separate them, and it's like, yeah, sometimes the world sucks. This is what racism and hate does. And I just feel like if we had a scene where the dragons don't come back, and Raya could do this narration to be like, so there's no more dragons, but we have all learned to be a better people together, and we will follow their message and strive for a better world. I just personally felt like that would have saved a lot of aspects of the movie that were really weak.
Yeah.
The thing is, the film literally literally has to, like, well, not really stop, but like once in a while remind you that, hey, the dragons are stone. And like in the exposition too, it's like in the beginning too, in the prologue, it tells you that the dragons, that like when they created the gem that stops all the Droon that causes basically their extinction, they specifically say that the humans are turned back from, like, they are back, they're living breathing humans, they're not stone anymore, but it doesn't work on the dragons, and yet for some reason in the ending the dragons are back. Yeah, they literally explained that. They literally told us that, hey, the dragons cannot be turned back. Yeah. And then
what is so special about this time? Like, is it because the humans had to trust each other like the dragons did, but now the humans do? But what does that have to do with bringing the dragons back?
I mean, the humans trusted each other before. Like, when the first stone was made, the humans trusted each other. It was after the stone was made that everybody, kind of, took a shit. But, yeah, I mean, the ending, I feel like that's kind of a big
so crazy. Yeah, I hated the ending.
Big problem. It's part of the reason why I feel like this is kind of more of a childish film than what we've seen from Disney, especially Pixar. Like Soul is definitely more of an adult film.
I was about to bring up Soul because it reminds me a bit like Soul, where where Soul just makes up its own rules as it goes along in its universe. Yeah. Like, it's a good film nonetheless, has good writing, well, okay writing, but like it makes up its own rules as it goes along. It's happening exactly with Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah.
It's sort of like making up their rules as it goes along, because like here's basically my theory that like Disney are trying to replicate Pixar in a way. They are actually trying to do what Pixar does. They started with their twist villains, with their like the main character is actually a villain. They did that with their twist villains, and now they're trying to replicate what Pixar is doing, like with most of their films. Since Pixar and Disney are now like working together, they are like literally trying to copy what Pixar are doing, and not even like trying to do their own formula that they once had back in the 90s, back when the Disney Renaissance was a thing. When like Tarzan, Mulan, Lion King was released, they lost that formula, and now they're trying to replicate the Pixar formula, which is basically my theory and what's applying to Raya and the Last Dragon. Because again, that's what they did with Soul, and now they're applying this to this film.
Yeah, I feel like this is not as good as Soul. I wasn't like a
Oh,
super
not
Soul
at all as
fan,
good as Soul.
but
Soul
yeah,
is
yeah.
deeply touching and it's human. Like,
The
everybody
thing
can
is with
relate to that
Soul.
movie.
The thing is with Soul, like Pixar has like intelligent writing, despite the fact, Soul does have some issues with the world building that it could work on. But like overall, like Pixar has really great writing, even if has really great writing. Thing is with Disney, if they keep replicating Pixar, they're just losing what made them Disney in the first place.
Yeah.
Which is why it really irks me. They lost their identity, and they're just trying to steal someone else's identity, which is like what I mean, like what I meant the entire time with Raya and the Last Dragon, that they're just trying to do what Pixar does. With Moana, which was their like most recent film, it was written by people of talent like that were with Disney since like the 80s, and it felt like a Disney film again. It wasn't Pixar.
Moana was really the last like classic Disney film. I also feel like even though I kind of agree with what you were saying, Isaac, about like part of me wishes Raya was a musical, but it wouldn't have fit the tone. I'm a sucker for Disney musicals, and I think that one of the things that's making Disney lose themselves is the lack of musicals. And because I feel like, the Disney Renaissance, all of those films, most of them were musicals, and they all worked, and they're all these iconic songs that we remember for decades after. And I didn't necessarily want Raya to be a musical, but I still think if you're going to take that risk and stray away from the formula, because musicals is integral to what makes Disney Disney. But obviously not all of their films are musicals. So if you want to be like, okay, let's make a film that's not a musical, it is now your job to take the classic formula that's worked for you for decades, the character development, the writing. I was talking with my mom the other day after the film, and she was like, when you really think about it, Disney should never make something bad. They are a billion-dollar company. They have tons of creative teams. They have tons of people that specialize in character development, plot development, world building, and they pump out stuff like this. And it's like, really? It's just so disappointing to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, here's a question too. Sorry, Joe. I just gotta finish this thought. Then
yeah,
Joe.
Sure.
Would you like forgive the film? It was a bit like Tarzan. Tarzan wasn't a musical because they had like. Would you forgive it if they had like songs overlaying it, Emmy? Or
I mean,
did it
honestly,
need to be...
it's not about like forgiving it. I think the film is fine not as a musical because I love the score. I love the score.
Was pretty
I liked
good.
it.
The score was
really
good.
Liked the score. It was killer. But
yeah,
I don't think it would have worked as a musical. And I think that's kind of one of the things that separates it from Moana. Obviously, like it is like Moana in some ways, but I feel like, it not being a musical definitely served a lot because I really like the action aspect of the film. Like I said, I really got Star Wars vibes, like almost like if the Mandalorian was not great, like this is what it would be, because the fight scenes were awesome, and like the interactions between the characters, is not all of them were great, but I just like those fight scenes, man. And how I liked how Namari and Raya are like, sometimes Namari won the fight, sometimes Raya did, and they're constantly battling with each other to see who's going to come out on top, not only in the fight but in like their overall arc and like their overall like, who gets to be the person that's going to save this movie. And one of the only things I like about the ending is that Namari is the person who puts the gems back together.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, okay, that's a good redemption arc, because she starts out as the backstabber, and she even looks like she's gonna like try to escape when all of her, found family and girlfriend is turned to stone. But then she's like, no, I have to do what's right. But if you guys, if you don't have anything else to say, which you might, but I want to get into the message of the movie very soon. I had so many problems with it.
I just want to say one thing about the whole musical aspect. As you were talking about that, I was thinking to myself, I feel like that would have helped with the world building a bit. Like if every faction had like its own musical number, then I feel like I would have understood a bit more what differentiates them and why they are, why Fang is Fang and why Talon is Talon. I feel like that would have helped a bit. So I guess I agree with you, Isaac, that I would have liked maybe a musical out of that, just to
Yeah.
help with the world building. But that's it. That's it.
Yeah. There's just one more thing before we get to the message. Like, I had a huge issue with the plot, and I had to read like other critic reviews, and they basically agree with me that this movie is basically a bit unoriginal because it basically
Yeah.
rips off Moana in a way. I've got like I can compare this movie a lot to Moana because there's a lot of plot elements that make it similar to Moana, and they made this movie more of like I don't want to say a discount Moana because that sounds harsh, but like in a way, it's more likely that it's more like that. It's like a low budget version of Moana, but like it's like worse. It's like it doesn't it doesn't know what made Moana really great, and it tries to copy the plot elements, but makes it even worse in some ways.
Hmm.
That's what I felt like during the entire movie. That it's just not a great like film because it's just like it's unoriginal, really. If you think about it, it's really unoriginal.
Just remember, it's not ripping off if you rip off yourself.
Yep. Well, yeah, but like it's just no that they did kind of reuse plot elements, and I was just complaining the entire time that I've seen this movie before, and I had to think about it and I realized that hey, this is kind of a bit like Moana, and I want to watch Raya. I don't want to think about Moana the entire time. That's what I mean like with this film. I want to watch Raya and the Last Dragon. I don't want to watch Moana, but because like this movie is a bit unoriginal with its plot, it just feels I just got bored at some points in the movie that I had to like pause once in a while just to take a break and then rewatch the movie. Yeah,
All right,
that's what
Emmy, you want to let her rip?
Whew. So, going into this movie, in the interviews I had watched with Kelly Marie Tran and like the directors, they were like, this movie is about trust. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to make a solid comparison. I think that oftentimes Disney movies reflect what's going on in the world, especially recent works. Obviously, we can see more people of color, more representation going in, with our new Disney movies. It's actually great. I love that Raya is being included to the Disney Princess roster because now we're getting a little bit more evenly balanced. I just checked like the official roster of Disney princesses. She's not on there yet, but once she is, it'll be like 7, like it'll be almost even with white princesses and people of color princesses. And I think that's great. But the message going into the movie with trust. Okay, let's look at our circumstances right now. The whole movie is about like, okay, don't like blindly trust everybody, but if you put faith in people, they will do the right thing in dire circumstances. That is just so false. Look at our world right now. It is almost a year anniversary of this pandemic. I don't want to bring everybody down, but I feel like this is essential to bring up, and it's one of the reasons why this message is just fails so horribly. Look at our world, okay? You want to talk about division and lack of trust? We walked into this thing like the doctors, the scientists said to us, okay, we're in a pandemic now. Everybody needs to wear masks. We can't even trust people to do that. We can't even trust people to have enough human decency to protect themselves and others in the most dire of circumstances where people have died. Now, comparing that to this movie, you go from, with Namari's character arc, you go from, okay, she backstabbed Raya, to she almost redeems herself, and then Raya gets antsy and, throws her sword at her, which kills Sisu. Again, Raya is the catalyst for everything bad that happens in this movie. She should not have trusted Namari when she was young. Okay, that's pretty clear. It's great that she made a new friend. It's great that, you guys exchanged gifts and talk about how you're dragon nerds and are lesbians together. That's great. But you do not. What literally happened right before that? Her dad and her fought each other so that she could protect the gem. That is her family's sacred heirloom. That is the last bit of magic that keeps the Droon at bay. And I get it, she was young, she was a kid, she was happy, she had a friend. But you don't just give into that. You need to have that like stability. I do kind of like that they show, I feel like that developed her trust issues really well. But towards the end of the movie, she, coupled with really cheesy dialogue, she rehashes what Sisu said. She's like, oh, let me take the first step. Here's all the gem pieces. And then she's just like, I trust you, even though you've backstabbed me and my family multiple times. It just felt like the message was, remember, kids, trust everyone, but not everyone. And maybe in dire circumstances, they might do the right thing. I want to take a quote from a movie that isn't really talked about because it's not really great, but The Giver. Okay, in that movie, Meryl Streep's character, she's like the government official, and the reason why they're in a controlled society is she says this thing. It's so beautiful. She says, when you give people the right to choose, they choose wrong. And as sad as that is, it's true. You cannot trust that people. A magical Disney World doesn't show you that trusting people is just great. Moana does this too. When Moana meets Maui, he leaves her to die on an island, and he's like, bye. There's multiple trust issues that go throughout a bunch of movies. But if you're going to make a movie about trust, you need to establish what characteristics can you look for in a trusting person, and what characteristics can you look for in someone who clearly is only out to backstab you. I feel like the development between that was just so bad. Again, I'm happy that Namari redeemed herself. But again, Raya never pays for her actions. She got the dragon gem broken. She brought back the Droon. She killed Sisu, and Namari's the bad guy.
The film literally treats it as though it was entirely Fang's fault, and they literally just they have to remind the audience sometimes that, hey, it's literally Fang's fault, and it's even spoken through the people itself. It's like, oh yeah, it's all Fang's fault. Like the characters even say, it's Fang's fault. It's Fang's fault, even though it was literally Raya. And I really like how they did. And I'm just being sarcastic. I really like how they did that. That's really great, Disney. Yeah. Just blame it on the person that it wasn't even their fault in the first place. Yeah. It was like, yeah. You go, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like I didn't mind a lot of the trusting aspect of the movie. I kind of see why things happened, like the whole, trusting the the whole the quote unquote the bad guy. I kind of understood why they did that, because it's like, well, if I can't trust this person, this person that backstabbed me, if I can't trust everyone, then there's no point in putting the stone back together, because it's just gonna fall apart again. So the only way to really, cure the world, cure the world of the Droon, or what have you, is to be able to trust everyone. And yeah, she does go off on a limb there, and that might have not been the smartest idea. But if say that woman was to save herself and not put the stone back together, then there would have been no point in putting the stone back together at all, because it would have just been fucked up again. And but yeah, I mean, obviously the I agree with what Isaac said. I feel like the whole Fang blaming thing was more of a what should I say, like something that the characters said, and something that the characters believed, but wasn't something that the audience was supposed to totally buy. At least that's the way that I saw
it. There's a thought that sort of hit me. How is it doesn't really explain how are Fangs more backstabbers in a way, because the film doesn't even go in depth with that. With the world building, which leads back to the world building, it doesn't lead back to how Fangs are the most backstabbers, or why they should eat. Why
there
we
was
the
no
audience should
out of the villain.
That thought just really occurred to me right there. There was no world building or fleshing out on the different tribes. Why is Fang to blame? Why not blame the other tribes for it? It could be their fault for all we know.
Everyone's selfish. Everyone took a piece of the gem.
Yeah. Why do we?
I find it interesting.
I really wish that we would have gotten more fleshing out of Namari and her mom. And like, was the plan when Raya's dad invited all of the tribes, was the plan like, okay, you know, befriend the little princess girl and then like take the gem? Because she had that army ready. She set off that flare in the sky, and then you got Fang people coming in and like, you know, with swords and shit, and you're like, were you guys prepared for this? I think that's another thing that should be established. It's the movie. I think that's also why the movie tries to blame Fang a lot, because they're trying to show you like they are the bad guys. They are selfish. They want the gem for themselves. And the mom, you know, she says to Namari, like, we need to save our people. And Namari's like, no, we need to save everybody. And she's like, nope, you need to force Raya and Sisu to come with us. And I feel like, but why? Like, what was her motivation? Just to like save her people? Like, I don't understand how that, like, it didn't feel fleshed out enough. Why are her mom's motivations, you know, let's save our people and let the whole world, you know, die, and Namari's pressure and her moral compass conflicting with that? I just wish we would have gotten a more fleshed out relationship between her and her mom, and that there's these expectations put on her from higher powers to act a certain way, especially when she's young, because like I said, she, you know, backstabs Raya, and that's kind of what sets off everything, aside from Raya, you know, taking that stupid first step and like showing her the gem in the first place. I just think that should have been fleshed out more.
Well, the thing is with me is that this whole problem could have been solved if they just like, why didn't they decide to put the gem on neutral ground with like one representative from each of the freaking you know, whatever tribes protecting it? Why, like, they were like, oh no, the gem definitely doesn't give us our prosperity, and it's like, well then why are you hoarding it? Mm-hmm. What's the point of that? The only thing that needs to happen is you need to make sure it doesn't break. Make the gem grounds neutral grounds.
Actually, the real question is, why do they need to take the gem anyway? Because it doesn't do anything at all. You just need to protect it. Why do they need, like, why do all the tribes need to take it?
Well, they think I think because Heart is like the gold standard of tribes, you know. They think that because Heart has the gem, they're the reason why they're like so cool and stuff, which honestly, that might be true, because they seemed really attached to that thing and not willing to share it.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And obviously, who decided Heart would get the gem in the first place?
I know.
Yeah, that's never even explained either, which
like, did Sisu turn in the gem in the middle of Heart, and they were just like, all right, this is ours now, like, and they're like, what? No, like, that's this power of Sisu, what? Like, we're like, well, it's here, so like, we're just gonna take it, bye now. And that probably is what split everybody up, and they don't explain that either.
Yeah, I feel like just all the tribes should have teamed up and went against Heart, because they were kind of being greedy with the gem. Well, yeah. Another plot hole is, like, when the gem broke, it's kind of convenient that one person didn't just take all the pieces. Mm-hmm. And like, I feel like that's what I would have done.
Yeah, that they just took individual pieces, and it's kind of, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's just me looking into it, but it's kind of lucky that their piece just, you know, that the gem just broke into the amount of pieces that they're like. How many tribes are there? Like, there's like 5. It's kind of funny that the gem broke into 5 pieces without breaking into like random pieces. Let's just think about that for a second.
Here's another thing to think about. Raya says to everyone else, she's like, "Oh, the gem pieces won't be easy to get." Literally gets them in the span of 45 minutes.
I know.
With every single tribe, she's like.
There was not even.
I think she kicks it out of the old lady's hand in Talon, and she's like, "Oh, mine. All right, let's go, Sisu."
I know. It's like there was no big, besides like the last one, there was never a big struggle to get the gems. She just kind of walked in and walked out a lot of times. Like, there were like mini, like, small conflicts, but like these are supposed to be the strongest, most fierce people in all the land, and Mai just keeps like. It's like a drive-through. She just goes in, she gets it, she gets out. It's like,
you know what Raya does, Joe?
What?
She gets the gem on credit.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm gonna just borrow that. I'm gonna take it. It's on my credit. Just put it on my tab.
It's on my credit, yeah.
I actually liked that scene. with Sisu. I thought that was really funny.
That was funny, yeah. But yeah, like I felt like this entire film was just based on luck. Like really, it's just based on luck. It's lucky that like the gem just broke into like well, it's like unlucky that it broke into 5 pieces, and it's lucky that Raya just manages to take all the pieces back in like 45 minutes. It's like really based on luck if you think about it. It's nothing like random chance or something like that.
Yeah, I guess that's part of the reason why I again why it felt more like a kids movie is because it kind of has that lazy like, oh, it's just a kids movie type plot where the
It
writers
lowers
kind
the
of phoned it in.
stakes.
Yeah.
You're like, what am I supposed to be rooting for here?
Yeah, because it's just so she just gets everything just so easily, you know.
Meanwhile, like with the old Disney classics, they were more like for everyone. It's not like they were so dulled down or like so stupefied. That's I don't know if it's the word, but like so stupefied for only kids to understand, like adults to being confused the entire time. Which is like what I meant, like what I mean by that, like that type of thing with Disney just losing their like magic. They lost their magic with I think it's like the Disney sequels or something. Because like Moana was certainly a good movie, and it wasn't really that dumb or stupid. Because like everyone pretty much got the plot, everyone didn't question it because it's already shown to us. Raya, it's pretty much really dumbed down, and it's like they have to make up their own rules. It's like really based on luck.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's like another well, the thing is that I feel like again, if there was just like 3 tribes, there wouldn't have been a problem because then, you know, each one could have had weight or something, but no, there had to be 5 for some reason. But
I don't know why. Yeah, that was confusing. Why there were like 5 tribes instead of 3 if you're not going to develop all of them.
yeah.
Which is the main problem too. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Disney kind of started losing its cool once Eisner stepped into the presidency role. Not to
I mean, when Eisner stepped in, it was mostly like the Disney Renaissance happened. But like when the Disney Renaissance lost it, when Bob Iger took over, I felt like from there it lost its Disney magic, lost what it was, lost what Disney used to be.
We almost
Because
got another Renaissance, guys, in the 2010s. With with Princess and the Frog, Tangled.
yeah, that was called like the revival era.
Yeah, we got Tangled. We got Frozen. It's not my favorite. I like Raya better than Frozen, but like Frozen was still pretty decent. And Moana, of course, which I think, well, Tangled's my favorite out of all of them, but
yeah, Tangled
Moana was very strong. Paved the way for a lot of other movies like Raya, obviously. But I was like, I remember being, and I was still growing up in that era, and I was just like, yeah, Disney's so awesome. They're making such awesome stuff. And then around like 2014, 15, that's when all the remakes came out, and I was just like, oh god, this is what they're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on. That's why I get so excited when I see stuff like Raya, or I get excited for the new original projects, and I'm really excited for Encanto, which is their next project, and that will be a musical, and Lin-Manuel Miranda's back for that, and as you guys know, like, he did the music for Moana, and we know how that turned out, so I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, like there's one thing I can appreciate about this film, and that is it is original. So it's an original project. It's not based on it's original. That's it. Like It's not really like an existing work where it's like feels like a cash grab. Although at some points I felt like it was a cash grab, but I'm not gonna get into depth with that because like I think it's just like a repressed thought or something. But like overall, it's really original. So that's something, I guess. Like, there's much to say about this movie. I really like the animation. The score was great. I just wish the film just worked a bit more on its world building and the plot. Because, like, that's just 2 things they need to fix, really. The world building, the plot itself. Everything else is just fine. The animation was really good. The score was really nice. I think, like, the environments were really, really good. The art design, the style, I like it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I did like a lot about this. I feel like this has the a very worthy competitor. What Tom and Jerry the movie did right is what Raya the Last Dragon did wrong. Basically, like, wow, just a lack of focus for me is the big problem, and the lack of understanding what is important and what needs to be done and what you shouldn't spend time on. And since they had a lot to get through in less than 2 hours, you couldn't afford to kill all that time, and they just ended up, kind of putting stuff like, I I get why it had the whole putting the band together, thing, one person from each tribe, but they just did not handle that well, and I kind of wish it just didn't do that at all, because it kind of made Raya look kind of stupid in comparison, and just,
Yeah.
and do I like this movie? Was it good? Yeah, it wasn't bad, is what I'll say. It wasn't a bad movie, but it is definitely, yeah,
It's a movie. It's a
I
movie.
enjoyed it personally. I know you guys, like, all criticisms aside, this was not like, let's look at what Disney has done, like, in the past, like Ralph Breaks the Internet and Frozen 2 which I'm actually watching Ralph Breaks the Internet today. That's my next movie I'm watching.
And you'll be disappointed.
I've seen
Yeah, I'm
it.
sure I
That's
will.
all I'll say.
But this was a big improvement from Frozen 2.
Sure.
Like, Frozen 2 was just so messy. I know a lot of people like it. Personally, I hate it. I think it's like, I feel like it has the same energy as a direct-to-video sequel. It's just so flat and crazy. So I
didn't like
feel
how
like
they just shifted the tone of the film. That's what I didn't like. Like, I mean, I appreciate it, but I didn't like how they decided to let's make Frozen dark suddenly. It's just like, I don't think
it wasn't
that was
even dark. It was like, let's make Frozen, let's take all that was good about the first movie and then turn it into a parody of itself. That's what I felt like.
It was more like a parody, yeah.
But I feel like Raya it's a solid 7 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed a lot of aspects of the movie, even though there were shaky aspects. I could see myself, watching it again, not a lot, but like maybe from like time to time, a couple years from now, I may revisit it. But, I definitely feel like this is it's a semi-step in the right direction. Like Disney's dipping their toes in the water of like, okay, this is the good shit. Like with Moana, they were swimming in it, but with Raya, they're like, okay, let's just dip a little bit in there. So I'm hoping that their next project showcase a little bit more depth and all the stuff that this film was lacking.
Yeah, I guess we're getting to the number ratings.
The thing is, actually, let me just finish this thought. The thing is with this one, would I recommend this to families? Sure. Would adults enjoy this? Probably. Would it be like one of Disney's classic movies? Not really.
No.
It's more like it's more likely. It's not like to fit in with films like Lion King, Tarzan, or Aladdin, but more like on the level of, how do I say this? Frozen 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, like on that level. More
I think it's way above that level. I'd say it's probably on par with films like what are some, maybe like The Rescuers, because that's a good movie, but it's like underrated and like kind of okay. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. All right, we can get into number ratings now.
All right, you want to go since
Yeah, I'll go. I said this in my review that I'm making. I'm giving this movie a 6.5 out of 10, but it is an improvement, so I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10.
I guess I'll give it a 6, because it is just it kind of just squeaks past like complete mediocrity. For me at least, there's just enough there. Like, the animation is good. When the movie does kind of have that whole adventure vibe and isn't like focusing on something else, I enjoyed it. The action is good. It's just that it's all kind of wrapped around, just it's kind of like encased in like, it's like a those chocolate truffle things, it's like that, except the truffle's a truffle and the chocolate is shit. The truffle's still good. The truffle's still good, and maybe if you like wash it off a bit, but whatever. 6 out of 10 from me. All right, so so do you guys want to plug your stuff?
Check out my new review channel, because I'm going to be posting the Raya review there.
And guys, you can follow me at Emme Oliver. You can check out my website, which is on my Instagram, at Weird Writer. I am going to Disney World in 4 days now, I think. I'm very excited about it. Isaac and Joe are jealous, but it's okay, because but I am doing 10 days to Disney, movies that I have not seen, because I need to solidify my super Disney fan stance in the thing. So I'll be watching movies like, I think some of the next movies that I'm watching. I'm doing Ralph Breaks the Internet today. I'm doing The Great Mouse Detective tomorrow. I've watched Dumbo, the original one, and a Goofy movie, and like Treasure Planet. So you guys can go check out my thoughts on that on my channel. So thanks to Joe for having me.
No problem.
It's always a pleasure with the quintessential Disney trio.
Of course.
Trio.
And links to all of that in the description of whatever service you're on. So make sure you click those links and follow the Movie Hoppers on Twitter at Movie Hoppers. Pretty easy stuff, and you get updates. You get whatever my stupid thoughts on stupid things. So yeah, fun stuff. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on yet again. And
you're welcome.
We'll be back very soon.
Thank you guys for listening, and goodbye.